Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Luis and today I'll be discussing how you can be more productive while at home. With the pandemic affecting both businesses and schools, these institutions have opted to move to a work from home setup to allow workers and students to continue their work and to attend class respectively. So in this video, I'm gonna give you tips on how you can work better at home so you can better adapt to these changes. I've divided this video into 3 parts: habit, environment, and focus, because these are the core elements that I believe that will determine one's ability to work from home. Anyway, let's start the video. In this new normal, we have to develop habits to adapt to the changes around us. In a work from home setup, a lot of our time, which is consumed by commuting from home to work and back, is now freed up because where we live is now where we work. But the downside to this freedom is that we lose a lot of the structure that was provided by our workplace or our school. So it's then up to us to create a system that allows us to be productive while at home to make sure we accomplish our tasks for the day. This includes creating a to-do list and creating a schedule. With creating a to-do list, this can be as simple as writing it down on a piece of paper or using your task manager of choice. Although it's tempting to list down every single task imaginable, it's important not to do so because it's important to understand yourself enough to know what you can realistically achieve within the day. You won't always get it right in that you achieve every single item in your list every time, but it's important to note the times that you are unable to achieve every single item in the list so that you can adjust the amount of work you give yourself the following day. It's also important to break down your goal into more specific steps because sometimes having too general of a goal can make it intimidating to start. By breaking it down into specific steps, you make it more manageable for yourself and therefore more achievable. For example, in making this YouTube video, I broke down the process into several steps. It involved doing research, script writing, filming A-roll, filming B-roll, and finally editing it all together before posting it on YouTube. When making your to-do list, it's important to put the most dreaded tasks at the top because these are the tasks you normally try to put off because they're either generally unpleasant or they take up a lot of time to do. And because we're working in our houses, you can find many ways to continuously put off doing these dreadful tasks by finding excuses to do other things around the house, such as, oh, I have to go do the laundry, or do the dishes, or sweep the floor. So by having yourself do these tasks first, you prevent yourself from delaying them later in the day, when you're probably really tired. Another way to better structure your day is through time boxing, which is essentially blocking off certain time periods of the day for specific tasks. This can be for cooking, cleaning, exercising, etc. As I showed in my previous productivity tips video, having a schedule makes you more efficient in accomplishing certain tasks because it sets an internal deadline for when you should accomplish it within a day. Although to-do lists provide you a general overview of the tasks you should accomplish within the day, it doesn't set a specific deadline by when you should accomplish it. As Parkinson's law states, work expands to fill the amount of time you allotted. So by giving yourself a narrow period of time to accomplish a specific task, whether it's to read a chapter in a book or to prepare a market analysis report, you prevent yourself from having a false sense of security that you have more time, thereby preventing yourself from procrastinating. For long-term deadlines, for tasks that are due weeks or months away, it's important to create a task board so you can distinguish between what needs to be done, what you're currently doing, and what's been accomplished. There are many programs you can use to create task boards such as Trello or Notion, which is what I use to track my school requirements during quarantine when we started this off-campus learning. Or for those who want to use paper, you can use post-it notes and post them on a wall into 3 columns. Lastly, it's important to have something planned at the end of the day, something that you enjoy, so you have something to look forward to after a long work day. This can be a movie night or a game night with friends, or a video call where you spend some quality time with your loved ones. In psychology, there's this theory that cues in our environment can influence our behavior, and associations our minds make with these environmental cues can affect how productive we are when working from home. Therefore, it's important to create a workspace at home that allows us to work productively with minimal distractions. The first step is to designate a space in your home that will be dedicated exclusively to your work. This area should ideally be isolated and separated from frequented areas of your home, such as a closed-off room, so that it's less likely that someone will accidentally interrupt you while you're working. Luckily for me, I'm able to have my own room where I can work for most of the day, while my family members also go about their own days. If you can't find a separate room, I recommend you find a corner of your house or condo where you can face a direction where no one will walk in front of you, such as facing a blank wall. Once you've chosen a workspace, make sure it's a space that you will only do work-related things in. For example, it would be unproductive to work in the living room where the TV is because it'd be so easy just to pick up a controller and play a video game or turn on Netflix and watch the latest episode of your favorite series. It's also important to make sure that your workspace is clean because there's a body of evidence that shows that having a very messy workspace can increase your anxiety and stress levels, which will eventually lead to procrastination. Lighting and temperature are also important because it makes it more comfortable for us to work for long stretches of time. For lighting, the best would be natural light coming from the outside, so it's best to work near a big window that would allow a lot of natural sunlight to enter the room you're working in. But if that's not possible, you can also turn on an overhead light or put a desk lamp to better illuminate your workspace. If you opt for the latter, I recommend trying different lighting setups or settings. This can be as simple as trying the different light settings on your desk lamp to something as advanced as installing smart light bulbs so you can control the hue and temperature of the room. This is because a study conducted by the Cologne University of Applied Sciences found that students react differently to different temperatures and hues of light. Students tended to concentrate more when given cooler light temperatures and were more creative when they were given more warm temperatures. I also recommend you put some water and snacks in your workspace so that you don't have to get up whenever you're hungry or thirsty. After fixing your workspace, you need to then determine the time of day where you will work. This includes the time you start and the time that you'll end. And this should ideally be at the same time every day because it will prime your brain to expect to work during these time periods. And going back to what I said earlier during scheduling, having a fixed amount of time allotted for yourself to work makes you less likely to procrastinate. Lastly, this principle of designated workspaces can also be applied to your laptops and desktop computers. I learned this on a YouTuber, ChinoyMD, and what he'd do is that he would dedicate a specific screen in his laptop for specific kinds of tasks. So he'd have a screen just for doing his fun activities, which included watching YouTube videos and Netflix. He would have a screen just for his academic work, which included like writing research papers and doing projects and studying for his upcoming exams. And he would have a separate desktop just for planning out and writing his YouTube videos. So you can also apply this to your devices where that you have a desktop where you just have apps related to doing fun things for like browsing the web and whatnot. And you can also have a desktop where you have all your work apps open such as Microsoft Word, Excel, and so on. Once you figure out when and where you'll do work, it's time then to get yourself into the zone and focus on what you need to do. Sometimes it feels hard to start because as physics tells us, it takes energy to move an object at rest. But at the same time, once it starts moving, it becomes very hard to stop. That's why it's important to start doing some tasks in order to build the momentum. Going back to what I said earlier about breaking down your goals into more specific tasks, doing these smaller tasks allows you to build momentum that will carry you to finishing the task as a whole. In doing this, it's important to limit possible distractions, and although you won't be able to limit every single possible distraction imaginable, such as an important phone call, you can limit the ones you know you can control, such as browsing social media or your household members accidentally interrupting you while you're working. You can do this by putting up a sign in your workspace to indicate explicitly to your household members that you're working. Or if you're sharing workspace with someone else, you can talk to them so that you have an understanding on the boundaries of your shared workspace, such as taking phone calls, whether or not you're allowed to play loud music, or having video meetings. Using headphones or earphones are also a great way to block out the ambient noise in your background. I personally use a pair of Bose QC35 headphones that I've been using since my first year in med school, and I find that they're very light and comfortable enough for me to use for hours at a time. I wouldn't recommend though that everyone use them because active noise cancelling headphones tend to be very expensive. A good alternative would be earphones that are the in-ear type because they would provide a nice seal that will provide noise isolation. As for what I listen to, I recommend that you listen to ambient noise, white noise, or instrumental playlists because these are less distracting than listening to songs that have lyrics. I'll link in the description several playlists that have these tracks, including my own personal study playlist on Spotify. Another useful tool is to use website blockers like the Force extension on Chrome or apps like Freedom, which block other apps for a specific time period so you don't get distracted even though you end up clicking on them. You can also disconnect your computer from the Wi-Fi if you don't need it, so that if you accidentally attempt to browse social media, you won't be able to and you can get back to work. For other distractors like your phone, it's important to create friction in order to make it harder for you to get distracted. This can be done by placing your phone in a hard-to-reach place like under your bed or in a table across the room, so it's harder for you to get access to it when you're tempted to use it. However, if you do need it for work, you can turn on settings like Do Not Disturb mode so that you're less likely to get distracted from unnecessary notifications. In addition to this, you can also take a piece of paper to note down the times you get distracted and what caused you to get distracted, so that you can be aware of what can potentially distract you that you initially weren't aware of when making this setup. Lastly, it's quite normal for many of us to get into a slump after working for long periods of time. And I find the best solution to this is to simply just switch to a different task. This can take the form of a productive break where you can do different things around the house such as chores, reading the book, exercising, or even a nap. I find that doing this task switching recharges me and allows me to get back to work after I've done them. Okay, so to recap what we went over in today's video, I divided the keys to working or studying from home into three elements: habits, environment, and focus. In habits, I discussed how creating to-do lists and blocking off time for specific tasks can help you to create structure for your day. In environment, I discussed how having a dedicated work or study space can help you concentrate and minimize distraction. In focus, I went over the specific measures you can take in order to remain focused while working or while sharing a working space with others. And that marks the end of today's video, guys. If you have any tips that I didn't go over that you think that other viewers will find useful, please leave it in the comment section down below. And if you like the content of this video, please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. My name is Luis, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.